Howdy ho, my friends. How are you today? This is part 2 of my little mixed media page. And I was just moving right along and I thought, uh-oh, I forgot to turn on the camera for you guys. So I thought, I think I need to do that. So I've already stamped some of my background. Everything is dry from the fun we had with our paints and watercolors and all that. So I've already done some stenciling. So now I'm just doing some stamping. Just bits and pieces. Here's one of them that I just used. And you guys have seen me stamp before. I just kind of, go a little hog wild and pig crazy. Picking different ones and different pieces of ones, and it just depends on the look I'm going for. Like, I think that's all of that one that I want, because this already has a lot of numbers and words, and I really don't want a lot more than that on there, but I do want to close this up because my stamps are coming out. So I need to close that up. I need to get it in a sleeve, a better sleeve. Oh, wait, it goes in this sleeve. Duh, silly woman. So I think, no, that one's got all the texture it needs. So let's put this back in the sleeve. It goes in. We'll put that away. So I want to use, in this one, I want to use some of this because I really like that. You know what? I need to kind of get you up there, or you're going to end up getting whomped right in the face. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I so far have had a super duper day. I'm actually filming this on the same day as I did the other one. Okay. So let's see here. Maybe I can get this. No, it doesn't stick, so that's not going to work. I was hoping I could get the whole thing inked. I think I want to use my black. That's what I want to use on there. So let's see here if I can get it. Put it on here and I'll push it down. Well, that didn't work, Lori, you big ding-dong. Let's try it that way. I just kind of want to get it inked. Well, that didn't work either. I need to, maybe if I hold it down, that'll work. What is sticking to this a little bit? So let's see. Oh, that's better. It did stick to it a little bit, which is okay. That's fine. Kind of will help me get what I want. No, it's not. Oh, now see, that's kind of what I wanted, like that. I did not want it all over my table. But, beggars can't be choosers, Lori. So let's wipe that off. Let's see if we can get some over here. Yeah, it's catching on my sweater, so kind of want to put some right in here. Because my big flower's going to go right on top of it. Yeah, there we go. Kind of just, it's not like it's all there, but it is a little bit there. And, you look at it and go, I think I see something, but maybe not. There, that'll work. Now, let's kind of squirt this off real quick, get it cleaned off. I don't think that's going to come off, but without my ink cleaner, but that's all right. We're going to do it anyhow. So it's not wet. And we're going to clean this off. Oops, I got that wet. Okay. All right, so there's the background kind of I'm looking for. Now this one right here, this has got the little butterflies. And I've been debating on if I want to do butterflies. Do I? Don't I? I just really, I don't know. I just don't know. But you do know I'm going to do one of those. So, and as always, I'm going to use my fired brick. So let's go on and put our little ladybug in here. And we're going to stick her right down here in the bottom. There she is. There she is, right down there in the bottom. And I think we're going to put one right over there. And then I'm going to turn it so she goes up the hill. This one's not my favorite. Not my favorite ladybug stamp, but she'll do. She will do in a pinch. So let's put her back in the box. So let me see where our little picture's going. Now I haven't made the pattern for my flower yet. So that I think is what we're going to do together next. We're going to make our pattern for our flower. We don't need that. So the pattern for our flower, now our flower, because that's going to determine whether or not I use a stamp, or this stamp. This stamp, you know, I can put here, and it's got several of them. This one just has the 2, and I think I can use that one. Because that one I can kind of stamp off if I want, if I choose to. So let's put that one back in there. So let's go on, and we are going to decide where our flower is going. Now, on the original, the flower was just drawn on. I just used acrylic paint. I just drew it by hand, and it was what it was. There was nothing fluffy about it. So here it is. This is just hand drawn with acrylic paint. Now, I will be honest, I did kind of sketch the size with a pencil. Now, these right here, these are little tiny seed beads. And these are little tiny seed beads. This is embroidery floss that I used for her little legs. And this is little, this is that little trim, and I think I still have some. But before we do any of that, we're going to go on and we're going to measure this to our page, because if I need to trim it, I need to trim it now. Because if it's too big, it's not going to fit anywhere. And this was the page I wanted it on because I wanted it opposite here. So, let's see. So I think it is a little bit too big because it's going to go right here. So it's a little bit too big there. So we're going to go on and we're going to mark it. That's the best part of making your page, your base page, when you do them like this, making them too big, because then you can come back and you can trim them before you do the final piece to it. Okay. Now, let's go on and trim it before we add our flower. So I'm just going to cut I'm going to cut right on that line. I'm going to make sure that I have a little guitar string on here. So I want to make sure that everything is flat and that I'm on my guitar string. I mean, I'm on my line. My guitar string is on my line. Now, I can always straighten things up with my scissors if needed. Okay, so over here on the edge, I'm at 5. So I know that's exactly where I need to be, because my pages are 5 inches wide. Okay, now this is really thick because of all my layers. So I am going to have to use my scissors, I think, to cut through a little bit of, there we go, just popped right off. Okay, so I know my, I know it's going to fit now. All right, so how about we put, oh wait, this was the one I wanted to ink around the edges with. I'm done with this one. Now, I'm going to use my ground espresso, and I'm going to go around my edges. Now, I do want to round my edges on this, because that will make it easier to fit in the corners. Come on. Oh, maybe. Oh, boy. Maybe it will, and maybe it won't. I might have to get out my bigger one. Okay. So make sure everything matches up here. Okay. Okay. Everything is rounded. Now, I'm going to go on and do my edges here. Oops, that's not the one. That's the one. And the reason I'm doing it is because the edge of this watercolor paper is very white. And I just don't want that white showing. So I'm just dragging this around. So I don't have all that white. Okay. There we go. So we can put that away. And all those little inks can go back in their home. All right, so that's going to go there. I don't need these. They can go in the drawer. I don't need the water. Okay, so back here. So I just need to decide where on here my flower's going. So on this one, I had a flower and a bird. I had a flower and a bird. Now, this one is a lot lighter than this one. So I think my flower will stand out quite a bit more on here. Now, if you don't want to put a flower on yours, a sunflower, don't. Put something else, you know. But I wanted this one to be a little bit darker because it's fall and it's going kind of in a darker journal. And I really, really like the way that this turned out. And I can still see the paper. I can still see all of my layers. I can see the watercolor I did. I can see I can see everything that I did. I can see it all. So I'm going to bring out my little palette from this morning. And I don't really need the colors that I need here. I'm going to need to get out. I need my yellow. I'm going to use this green. I think this is my darker green. What is this? This is my Hauser green. And I'm going to use those. I'm going to use this color here in my sunflower. I don't need that blue. I am going to use that green a little bit in my stem. All the white you see will be done with pens. I will also be adding some gold to that other one. This can come out. Where's my thing here? This and that purple can come out, and I'm not going to need that blue, so I can clean that blue out. And I don't need this purple. So what I tend to do is I just tend to let them dry a little bit, and then I just clean them out. It's a lot easier, I think, than messing with a wet paint, because phew, they're messy when they're wet. But for that blue, I'm just going to take my paper towel and I'm just going to wipe it out. And I'm going to try to be really careful, because when it's wet, I tend to get it everywhere. And up here, I had some gold. And I'm going to use gold again. Okay. There we go. There. So let's get these colors up. I did that fairly easy. Let's pull my sleeves up. I'm going to put my green over here. And I'm going to put my yellow up here. Okay, so now with my pencil, I'm going to lay this out on here. I'm going to decide where I want everything. Now, I'm probably going to go on and put my little bird, and I might make her the same. I don't know that I'm going to use yellow on her little legs again. I might use a different color, only because this is a different color. But I want to lay out my flower first thing, because that's going to determine where this is. So let's do that first. So I want my flower to, see, it got wet, so I need to kind of bend it so it's flat. There we go. Ah, that's better. So I want my flower to start over here. Now you're not going to be able to see much of my pencil line. And I'm going to bring it up. And I'm going to bring it to there. And I'm just sketching it. It's not written in stone or anything like that. It's just kind of giving me an idea of where I want it. And these are going to be my underleaves here. It just gives me an idea. And don't be surprised if you see my head poking under, because that's a possibility too. Okay, so that I can see things, I'm going to go on and paint in my stem here. At least the first coat on my stem. The outline of it anyhow. Now, if you don't have acrylic paint, you can use things like markers. Acrylic markers work great on things like these. They dry very, very quickly. Okay, there's my first coat. And now I'm going to drag a little bit of this color. Remember this color? It was my alfalfa. I'm going to drag a little bit of that through some of it. Just a little bit. And I'm leaving it on my brush. And I know you're thinking that's not supposed to be green up there. But actually, it is. Okay, that gives me the bottom outline that I want. Okay, now where did my water jug go? Huh. Oh, here it is. Right here. All right. All right, so let's grab a paper towel. Actually, we're going to grab two, and we're going to rinse that off. Now, to do my sunflower, first thing I'm going to do is I am going to move the big one up here out of my way, and I'm going to turn this upside down. And I'm going to clean the green off of here. Okay. Now I'm going to take my pencil and I am going to follow my stem. My stem is the center of my sunflower. So I know up here is where the center of my sunflower is. It's up here. And you all have seen me draw circles before. They're horrible. So it's roughly up here. Okay, I know you can't see it very well, but it's right there. So now, off of my circle, I start drawing. And my first one is going to hit that green, but the reason it's not is because it needs to dry. And I'm drawing my leaves, the rest of my sunflower leaves. Now, if you don't want to draw with pencil, if you want to go on and draw with your paint, you go right ahead. And usually that's what I do. But I'm trying to get some spacing here. But since I can't see on here, I think, oh, I can't paint with a pencil, can I? Okay, there's that. Do any of you grow sunflowers? My garden's not big enough for them. I've grown some smaller ones before. I have a friend that grows them, and they get huge in her garden. They get about 7 feet tall. Okay, that's the basis for my sunflower. Now, I haven't done leaves yet, and I'll get back to those. So I'm going to fill these leaves in just with the base coat to cover up the bottom, this here, because with yellow it needs to dry before I can do anything else. and right here, because when you have leaves like this that come together, this is where you can start adding your highlight color. Even though it's your base coat, you can add your highlight color. Otherwise, it's a big blob. Now, I also do just every other leaf sometimes and let those dry. Because I'm not doing a really heavy coat. I'm just doing a really light coat. And then I'll come back to those. Now, I'll come back to the ones that I didn't paint. Now, on my inside, I'm going to do yellow. And I'm going to do this green, maybe. I'm going to do this green, and I'm going to do a little bit of this green. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit. And I need to let that dry as its base. Okay. Now, these are drying. So now for the other ones, these are almost dry here. For the others, I can start with this pink that I created in the previous video. To cover this up. And this color was created with apple red and what is this? And dandelion yellow. I know, we're getting to the ugly stage, aren't we? Oop, I missed one, didn't I? Now, you could make your sunflower. Your sunflower does not have to match mine. Sunflowers come in a variety of colors. The one that I was able to grow in my little garden was actually a deep burgundy. And oh my gracious, it was the prettiest thing. And it was only about 4 foot tall. But it was so pretty. And they come in whites. If you do a search online, you'll see all the pretty colors that they come in. So you could do your sunflower in one of those colors. If you don't want to do a traditional. Mine's far from traditional, as you can tell. I used to do a sunflower challenge every year in a group that I'm a member of. And every year I tried to do a different type of sunflower. Now these will get highlighted with gold and they'll get outlined a little bit so that they stand out a little bit more. But this is layer 1 of them. But when you paint them, you always start at the bottom and you flick your paint up. That gives them the look of their colors coming from the base up. So see, I can go to the tip and then I can grab, say, some more of this red if I want it looking like it's coming in red, or I can grab some of the yellow and add a highlight of yellow if I want. Okay. Now, I need to let all that dry up there before I can do anything else, or I am just going to have a mess. So I need to clean my brush, and I'm just going to clean it really well. And I'm going to come down and make some little doodly leaves. And I'm going to use my 2 greens. And I've just put them together. And this is just their first coat, so they're going to be really light. But they'll get more. And I know these aren't real sunflower looking leaves. Sunflower leaves are really have a really dark or really sharp speckle to them. They're really sharp leaves, actually. Okay, so I want to add some more dark to them. But these are just fun little doodle leaves. I'm not trying to be, perfect or anything. I'm just having some fun. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. Now, in my middle, I need to add some brown because I think it's dry enough to add some brown. So I'm going to use my brown oxide, but I need to be really careful adding this brown. So I'm going to use my brown oxide, my cinnamon, and my gold. Let's scoot all those over. Scoot that over. So I'm going to put my browns here. Let me shake them up. Now remember, my green is my base, and it's just going to take a little bit. Oops. Come on. There you are. And my brown oxide was my favorite. When I painted a lot, I don't know how many bottles and tubes of brown oxide I went through. Come on. As you can tell by the look of the bottle, my hands were always covered in paint. Come on. I know it's in there. I can kind of sort of see it. There it is. Okay. And then the gold, I'm just going to put it up here on top. Right there on top, just like that. Now, and I'm going to turn this upside down again because that's really wet. I'm going to dry my brush. Okay, my brush is dry, and I'm twisting those. So, and now I will also be using that. So the first color I'm going to use is my cinnamon. I'm going to make sure it's stirred up here real good because it's looking a little loose. Haven't used it in a while. Okay. Same with that one. Okay. So up here on top, I'm going to take a little scoop of this, and I'm just going to make dots. Okay, I'm just making dots. Just like this. See, I'm dabbing. Then I'm going to come back over here and get some of the darker brown. Now I want a little bit of the cinnamon. And if it starts looking like it's a little bit too wet, that it's not allowing you to do what you want, take a minute and dry it. Like mine's starting to look a little wet. So I think I need to take a minute and dry it before I do any other coloring on it because it's looking a little bit wet. So I'm going to clean my brush out really well and make sure I have all the water out of it. And then I'm going to take a minute with my little dryer. Let me move the paint because I don't want to dry it. But I do want to dry the center because it's just looking a little bit wet. Too wet that it's not allowing me to get the layers that I want. And that'll also allow me to do the second layer on the stem and the petals. Now, I have no idea how long we've been working, so let me take a quick look here. Oh my gracious, we've been working a while. So let me try to wrap this up for you. Okay. Oh, that looks better. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, now that it's dry, I can see that I like the center the way it is. So I can bring this in. Now I'm going to take the tip of my brush and I'm going to dip it in my gold. And I'm just going to take it through there. And I'm going to give myself some little seeds. Little gold seeds. Just like that. Okay? Just like that. Now, those are going to take a while to dry. All right, so now that this is dry, let's come back down here and let's give our leaves their final coat. Let's give them their final coat of their dark green. And we're also going to give their stem their final coat. And do their blending with their, while they're wet, with their other green. Okay, let's give their stem their final coat. All right, now let's take this green and let's just give them a few little highlights here. Okay, the bottom is done. And it just all is going to have to dry. Yep, so part 3 is going to be the final decorating and adding our little bird. All right, so let's get this done. I think this is going to be dry enough. Just drop some water. Let's get that off of there. So up here, I think this is dry enough. Let's see. Yeah. I want to take my yellow. Oh, maybe not. And I want to pull some yellow up. Just a little bit. Now, even though my top layer is dry enough to work on, my card is not. So I'm going to have to let this dry a little bit. And then we will come back for part 3. There we go. And we'll add a little bit of our pen work. Oop, that was a little bit much. We'll add our bird. And we'll add our little, I think that was all of them. Yes, that is. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry the rest of the way. And when it's completely dry, I'll come back and we'll add our bird over here. And then we're going to add our bird, we're going to add our beads, and we're going to add our white highlights to it. And I'm going to have to see if I have some of the orange maybe, or maybe some brown to add to our little bird's legs. And we will finish this up in part 3, but I need to let it dry all the way. So here's what we have so far. We're going to let her dry. And I want to thank you guys for joining me for this fun project. I have had so much fun with you guys. And welcome to all the new subscribers. We are up to 960, and my goal is 1,000 by the end of the year. And if we reach that, there will be a giveaway. I am going to have a journal giveaway. So I haven't started it yet, but when I do, I will let you guys know and I'll show it to you. It won't be one that you've seen. I will make it off camera, unless you want to watch me do it, but otherwise I'll make it off camera. And that way, I'll do a flip through of it when it's finished, and then that will be the prize for the 1,000th subscriber. And then we will celebrate, and we'll go from there. So I want to thank you guys for everything. My channel turned 2 years old on October the 12th, and I was so excited when I got my notification from YouTube and saw how we have grown. So until I see you again in our next Ladybug Journal video, ta-ta for now.